Far Cry 6 Game of the Year Edition leaked online, and yeah, they actually titled it that. A game that received mixed reviews, and like 17 or 18 games received more Game of the Year honors than them, in which I think only like 2 random outlets I've never heard of gave it the Game of the Year award. So yeah, I guess in Ubisoft's eyes, that is a certified banger, I guess. Kind of sad, to be honest. Earlier on in the month, the gaming community was blessed with what I would consider E3 in September, as we had a number of gaming events, including Ubisoft Forward, which showed off a bunch of new Assassin's Creed games. We had Night City Wire, a terrible Disney Marvel event. Xbox had a presentation at the Tokyo Game Show, but the big home run events obviously had to be Nintendo's new Direct and Sony's new State of Play, in which we had reveals for Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which feels strange not calling it Breath of the Wild 2 anymore, and then obviously God of War Ragnarok, a huge new gameplay presentation which showed a lot about the story, teased a bunch, and I'm extremely excited. It is my most anticipated game of 2022, and while I do think Elden Ring holds the honors for Game of the Year, I don't think any game's going to be able to touch that. I do kind of have a sneaking suspicion that Sony Santa Monica could make it close, especially if that explosive new trailer is just a taste of what the full game will offer players. And indeed, it is full steam ahead to the November release, as God of War Ragnarok has gone gold. For the 5th time, yes, you heard that right, Skull and Bones is being delayed. For the 7 people that actually care, the open world pirate game has gone through a horrendous development and only exists now because of contracts made with the Singapore government. Reportedly, developers on the project have indicated that they have a massive stinker on their hands, and I guess maybe a few more months will make this a little less horrible. Either way, if this does release in March 2023, I'd be shocked it's met to positive reviews. The game just looks soulless and boring. Sorry. Speaking of solace, Ubisoft has said that their Splinter Cell remake will be updating the game's story for a modern audience, and yeah, the last time, or actually every time I've heard that, it's ended up going very badly. The detail was noticed in a job listing for Ubisoft Toronto, in which it was also mentioned that they would be using the first Splinter Cell game as their foundation. Some have pointed out that Ubisoft could be updating this story to a more modern conflict, as the listing also says, we want to keep the spirit and themes of the original game while exploring our characters in the world to make them more authentic and believable. We'll have to see what this entails in the long run, but I have serious concerns as Ubisoft writing the last decade has been on the same level of the wet washcloth that was used to clean cat piss off my floor. Departing from Splinter Cell's core identity would be a grave mistake, and I hope that's not what happens here. Disney is planning to ramp up video game development for Star Wars games. Soon it appears it may be quantity over quality. Gaming insider Tom Henderson reports that Mickey Mouse wants a new Star Wars game release every 6 months, 1 major AAA title and 1 smaller game per fiscal year. Under Electronic Arts, we lived through an age of mediocrity and promising projects being cancelled. Now, lots of games are in development from various gaming studios. Let's just hope most of those end up being worth the wait. Although right now, looking at the projects that we do know about, there is cause for concern. In other news, Stadia is shutting down again, well, this time for good. The cloud platform will close operations early next year, and this is just not a surprising outcome. This is exactly what I predicted what was going to happen when it was announced for the first time a couple of years ago. What's more unfortunate about this news is that Google decided not to share this news with their partners. Various game developers found out about the news through social media and were very pissed, as some of them had ports in development for the soon-to-be dead platform. Gamers were also screwed, as some who have invested hundreds of hours into games on Stadia will have all of their progress deleted unless the game companies develop and allow some sort of last-minute character transfer option. One Red Dead Redemption 2 player has about 6,000 hours logged, much of that time spent on the online component, and now is begging Rockstar to do something to save his account and the progress from being deleted. Overall, just a shitty situation for everyone involved. As Tencent prepares to make a bigger push into acquiring majority stakes in game companies, Saudi Arabia is about to spend around $13 billion for the acquisition and development of a leading game publisher to become a strategic development partner. Who may that be? It's hard to say. It can't be an EA, as they are too big, but companies like CD Projekt Red, Sega, Capcom, Ubisoft, Konami are all prime candidates. Not exactly encouraging news considering the reputation of the Saudis, and one certain Cuphead journalist gave an all-time bad take on this news. Dean Takahashi, writing for Venture Beat, Saudi Arabia has a lot of challenges around human rights, and it has issues as a nation for sure. These big investments might distract people from those things, but at least the nation doesn't have its head in the sand when it comes to recognizing the importance of gaming. Jesus Christ. How Dean still has a job in this industry is beyond me. When he's not excusing blatant human rights violations, he's excusing and doing PR work for companies embroiled in misconduct scandals and also shilling for NFTs. YouTuber Donkey announced he was starting an indie gaming publishing company, and all I have to say is, that's awesome. Many were outraged by the news as they pointed to his lack of experience, and all that makes me think is, where's this outrage for the corporate suits who jump into gaming with no experience at all either? At least Donkey has passion for this medium, and him investing his time and money to make games happen that might not have received the support needed should be viewed as a good thing. EA's Motive Studio and Marvel announced a new Iron Man single-player action-adventure game is in development. I just hope this means that EA is attempting to salvage the Anthem flying mechanics, which were actually pretty darn good, just obviously wasted in a lackluster live service. Saints Row the reboot was supposed to be a fresh start for the franchise, but it may have just been the final nail in the coffin, with many demoralized with Volition's lack of understanding their very own franchise. The Embracer Group, the publisher behind the game, recently opened up about how they were disappointed by the reception. The Embracer CEO specifically calling the reception very polarizing, and the issue with that characterization is acting like there is more than a handful of people that actually like the game, because the vast majority are in the camp that this sucked really badly. Just as much as we all thought when that first trailer debuted a few years ago, and one of the leading developers said that the franchise's tone needed to be changed. Perhaps the most mismanaged sequel ever, Blizzard's Overwatch 2 is just about to launch. The single-player component that was supposed to come with it, maybe one day I guess, but for the newcomers looking forward to the multiplayer, Blizzard has made the early hours as annoying as possible for you. With being free to play, new players begin with access to a limited set of game modes, heroes, and some other restrictions to onboard them more gradually. New players will have to win 50 quick play matches to unlock competitive mode, and complete roughly 100 matches to unlock all of Overwatch 1's existing 32 heroes, so about a 20-hour grind. The only way to avoid that would be purchasing the first game, which isn't possible now, but thankfully Blizzard blessed players with a $40 Watchpoint pack, which includes the old game. How generous of them. While there aren't loot boxes in the sequel, there is tons of nickel and diming, with Overwatch 2's first new hero, the support character Kiriko, being locked behind level 55 of the Battle Pass. If players want access to her from the jump, they'll need to fork over $10 for the Premium Battle Pass. Essentially a free-to-play nightmare, as Kotaku points out, and it gets even more wild when you learn that there is a requirement of having a phone number connected to your account to play, and voice chat will be recorded so Blizzard can monitor player behavior. If you thought the sequel looked like a lackluster reskin with now 5 players per team, the rest of this just spells out a mismanaged disaster, which has kind of been the MO of Blizzard the last couple of years too. Oh, and as of recording this video, Overwatch 2's servers have gone online, and things are not going well after Blizzard was hit with a massive DDoS attack. Yeah. Maybe somebody will eventually get to play it. Unfortunately, some have, although ridiculous queues are still happening. Nothing like seeing 50,000 people ahead of you, waiting for hours to play, and then finally, after that lengthy wait, getting into a lobby, getting into a game, and then immediately the servers go down and you're stuck looking at another lengthy queue. But Blizzard has been addressing some issues, such as the phone number requirement. After getting blasted on social media for it, they dropped the requirement for existing players. New ones, though, will have to deal with this. And the fact that prepaid plans are being rejected still presents a problem that needs to be addressed. Beyond the fact that many are realizing that Overwatch 2 really doesn't feel like a true sequel, new issues are emerging, such as a chat bug that can cause unexpected purchases. Yes, you heard that right. Multiple reports have claimed that these purchases are caused by a bug where text typed into the chat is occasionally misinterpreted by the game as an input for navigating the menu. And unfortunately, unlocking a skin only takes 2 presses of the spacebar. Blizzard's reaction to these reports, well, that's a shame in it. No refunds. That's pretty much it. So as you can see, things are not going well, but to be fair, all of this controversy for Overwatch 2 has served as unintentional marketing, I guess, for a launch that it seems almost nobody knew or cared about. Still though, many issues linger, especially in regards to monetization. When people are missing the old loot box system, that's a problem. Blizzard selling 5-year-old legendary skins for $20 is a problem. It taking 5 years of grinding to unlock all of Kiriko's cosmetics is another pretty significant one. A greedy one, might I add. The strategy within the Jim Ryan era of PlayStation is becoming evident, and that is more live services, more remakes and remasters of games that don't need them, and TV shows and movies. We obviously have the Last of Us HBO series coming next year. We just had a remaster for The Last of Us 1. There was an announcement for Days Gone getting a TV show. There's rumors of a Twisted Metal show, and a number of other productions, as well as Horizon Zero Dawn, which is going to be getting a TV show, I believe, through Netflix. That was announced a couple of weeks ago, and now we have a remaster/remake for Horizon Zero Dawn, which just got leaked by a number of sources, and also a multiplayer game is in development. The remake/remaster is going to feature improved lighting, textures, animations, models, and accessibility options, and the multiplayer game may feature a form of co-op. That is what we know about the project at this moment, and obviously the reaction online has been a big old why? We just did this with The Last of Us, and there's no way that Sony's going to be selling this for $10. This is going to be a $70 project, and it's probably going to launch right alongside that Netflix series whenever that does come about in a couple of years. And that actually kind of answers the question of why. All I'll say on this topic is that I love the Shadow of the Colossus and Demon's Souls remakes, and I wish Sony would explore more of their history. Siphon Filter, Killzone, Resistance, Sly Cooper, so many great franchises, so many great games in Sony's history that definitely could use some new love, and seeing a PlayStation 4 game that released just 5 years ago and has already gotten the 4K 60 frames per second treatment, seeing that game get a remaster is just baffling in my opinion. Oh, and by the way, for the From Software audience looking for some sort of update for Bloodborne, maybe a port to PC, maybe, 60 FPS on PS5, well, PlayStation's talking about a From Software movie or TV show, which they're calling Not Unthinkable in the future, so yeah, there's that, I guess. But this is the nature of PlayStation in 2022. They've certainly made their fair share of unpopular decisions lately, so unnecessary remasters are one thing, live services are another. And live service doesn't mean just multiplayer experiences on PlayStation 5, it also means some of their biggest franchises making it to mobile. That's why their acquisition of Savage Game Studios makes a lot of sense. The studio has not released a game yet, but it has multiple veterans, including the co-founders, who worked on games such as Clash of Clans and Angry Birds. So yes, God of War Mobile, Uncharted Mobile, Last of Us Mobile, those are things that will very much come in the future. They're planning a major push to phones, and that is just the way of this video game industry. All of the console publishers look at the mobile game industry, see the billions upon billions of dollars being made, and of course they all want to get in on that. Sony is not the first or last to jump in on that fun, as we've also seen Rockstar Games through Zynga, Microsoft through King. All of our favorite franchises will eventually have some crappy exploitative pay-to-win mobile game. That's just inevitable at this point. Now, this was not the only move that we saw from Sony, as they acquired a big stake in Elden Ring developer From Software, acquiring about 14.09%, but they were not alone, as Tencent also acquired a big stake in the company, about 16.25%. While From Software's parent company, Katakawa Corporation, will still remain the majority shareholder with about 69.66% shares. So yeah, some very eye-opening moves here. Sony acquiring part of From Software isn't really that surprising considering their relationship and how Sony definitely probably should have acquired that company years ago. Tencent continues to make big moves and promises even bigger ones in the future. We are living in the consolidation era of gaming. Bigger corporations such as the Amazons, Netflixes, Apples, and Facebooks will eventually make big splashes in this industry. And hell, Xbox has already indicated that they are planning more acquisitions in the future, post the Activision Blizzard merger being finalized, with rumors recently emerging of the company exploring the purchase of a Japanese gaming studio maybe coming next year. Soon enough, this industry, though, will be dominated by just a few mega corporations. That's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. CD Projekt Red have been in the spotlight yet again as Cyberpunk 2077 enjoyed a number of new updates, including the announcement of the one expansion coming for the game in 2023, Phantom Liberty. It actually looks pretty interesting, and there was also patch 1.6 released for the game, which included a bunch of quality of life additions, some new in-game content for players to take on right now, and also mod tools, further mod support, which is just awesome to see. As of recording this video, CD Projekt Red, in collaboration with Studio Trigger, also released their anime series called Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and all I'm gonna say is watch it. You do not need to have played Cyberpunk 2077 as it takes place before the game's events with entirely different characters, just watch it. Now, the big question with CDPR is how the company will evolve in the future. Will they learn their lessons from Cyberpunk 2077 as they move from the Red Engine to Unreal Engine 5? That is a question that we're going to be asking ourselves for the next couple of years. But one big problem that is becoming noticeable is the amount of veteran staff departing. I've made numerous videos about this, but yet another high-level CD Projekt Red developer has departed. The production director on Cyberpunk 2077, I can't pronounce his name, but he is leaving CDPR after 15 years. Besides his work on Cyberpunk, he was also a lead producer on The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. For the last couple of years, CDPR has faced many accusations of enforcing a brutal crunch culture as well as mismanagement, all of which led to Cyberpunk 2077 and the studio's downfall and their reputation just going down the drain. And this has led to a lot of veteran staff departing from the company and going to other developers, whether that be Activision, Blizzard, or Ubisoft, but we've also seen a bunch of Witcher 3 veterans forming their own studios. We saw earlier this year the Witcher 3 game director Konrad Tomaskiewicz form his own studio called Rebel Wolves. They're now working on a AAA dark fantasy RPG that has a bunch of former CD Projekt Red developers working at that studio now. And also just about a month ago, we saw a couple of Witcher 3 veterans form another new studio, and they are working on a multiplayer stealth action game set in feudal Japan. So this is indeed very similar to what we've seen with a lot of Blizzard and BioWare veterans. They got tired of working at those companies, they got burnt out, and they wanted to do something their own way, a new way, so they formed their own studios. And that's why it is going to be interesting to see how The Witcher 4 turns out. CD Projekt Red just announced the other day that this is the beginning of a new saga, so I imagine the next couple of games will be probably another trilogy. Will they follow a new character? Who knows, maybe something that we can make in the same vein that we could in Cyberpunk 2077, or could it be something like we follow Ciri and we go a number of years ahead after the events of The Witcher 3, maybe they make one of the endings canon, or maybe we go long into the past and we play as a younger Vesemir. Some interesting possibilities, but going to be more interesting to see if CDPR can pull this off because expectations will be extremely high to the follow-up experience to The Witcher 3. Yes, the madman Todd Howard has done it again. While Skyrim has been on the Switch for a while, a new edition has launched and there are some problems. Skyrim Anniversary launched on the platform for $70 fucking dollars. Absolutely insane that they're trying to sell a game for that much money. And what's even worse is that the game is not working well on the platform. There's tons of performance issues and just there's lots of people very angry about this. When you're spending $70 on a game that came out about a decade ago, well actually over a decade ago, it should not be running this badly. As Nintendo Life points out, a number of Skyrim Anniversary Switch users are reporting frame rate issues, including stuttering and frame rate drops. Others are supposedly experiencing crashes more regularly now, with a lot mentioning how they've been playing the game survival mode. And then there's tons of videos just showing all of the issues that players are having, and many saying do not buy this on the Switch. It is an absolute mess, and it is actually unclear if Bethesda will ever address this, but selling it for $70 and launching it in this state is just so pathetic. And it also makes me even more nervous about Starfield, which yes, we do not have a release date for at the moment. It looks like sometime in 2023, and based on some activity on SteamDB, that may be being pushed to the later half of 2023. There's some points of an internal delay happening, and I just hope they get the performance of that game right, but based on history, nothing tells me it's going to go right. Now beyond that, we also had some controversy in regards to Arkane and their game Prey, and how Bethesda forced them to use that name. Arkane studio founder Rafael Colantonio recently conducted an interview and aired out his frustration at Bethesda, saying, "I did not want to call this game Prey. Prey, I had to say I wanted to anyway in front of journalists, which is not my pleasure. I hate to lie. And those are sales lie. It's not like a personal lie or whatever, but it still felt bad that I had to support a message I did not want. Not only me, but nobody in the team wanted to call this game Prey. Our game had nothing to do with Prey. And remember, Prey was an established franchise, an actual beloved game from the mid-2000s. There was a sequel announced, there was a trailer which got a lot of people excited, and some gameplay, and then that project fell apart and Bethesda decided just to slap the name Prey on Arkane's survival horror game, which was phenomenal. It was a fantastic experience, which was marketed horribly, and just absolutely nobody purchased the game at all. And Moon Crash is actually a much better version than Deathloop, which came out last year. I really do recommend Prey if you've never played it. Just phenomenal, underrated experience. But the studio founder of Arkane did continue with his thoughts, saying, "I'm grateful that a company will give me the means to make a game and trust my ability with so many millions of dollars. I'm grateful of that, but there is a bit of the artistic, creative side that is insulted when you tell the artist your game is going to be called Prey. You go like, I don't think it should. I think it's a mistake. It's a sales mistake." He was right, because we're going to get the backfire from the original Prey fans, which they experienced. These ones are not going to be happy. Then the ones who didn't like Prey, they're not even going to look for our game. They're not going to find our game. So that was part of I gotta go at this point because I'm not in control of my own boat at this point, which is an explanation for why he did leave Arkane. Colantonio also called the decision a kick in the face of the developers of the original game. He's often wanted to apologize to the team for doing it. It never was our intention to steal their IP and make it ours. I was like, it's gross, that's not what I wanted to do, and so everybody lost, and the sales were horrible by the way of Prey. It was not a good decision. And he is completely right about that. Just many mistakes made with that game, and if Bethesda had handled this just a little bit differently, they could have had an absolute home run on their hands. But unfortunately, Prey is just one of those hidden gems that a lot of people still don't know about to this day. Last but not least, we move on to Grand Theft Auto 6 and the fallout from the recent leak that Rockstar Games suffered, in which 90 plus gameplay videos surfaced onto the internet, and there seemed to be some indication that it could get a lot worse with source code being revealed and other documents related to the game's development, but that has not happened, as it seems like the hacker behind it was taken down and the other hackers involved are right now on the run, or at the very least they have gone quiet. And say what you will about Take-Two Interactive and their legal team, but they have done extensive work over the course of the last week with taking down really a lot of that leaked material. It seems like it was filling up all over social media. Now you still see it, but not as much. But in regards to financial damage that Rockstar Games and their parent company Take-Two Interactive suffered, it really has not been as bad as I think everybody thought it could have been, as their stock fell by about 10 to 20% that first week or two when everything was just exploding on the internet, and there was all kinds of concern with what could come about, but since then it has recovered. It's down still about 2 to 3%, but that could just be because of the current world situations, but it has recovered. But behind the scenes, it does appear Rockstar Games remains busy with taking precautions related to their existing games. As Insider Tez 2 noted on the GTA forums on SteamDB last Monday, Rockstar pushed updates to all QA branches across all active games as a part of the new security measures. This happened 2 weeks ago as well. It appears whatever new access keys Rockstar came up with are scheduled to change every 2 weeks. And while there is no proof of GTA 6's source code being in the wild, there is in regards to GTA 5's, which is likely why Rockstar's implemented these regular security measures. In previous videos, we did talk about how the games industry reacted to this historic leak. Developers and leaders from Sony Santa Monica, Xbox, Obsidian, Bethesda, Naughty Dog, Ubisoft, and so on and so forth reacted with outrage and disappointment with how GTA 6 was revealed to the world, many feeling for Rockstar Games. We also saw some unfortunate idiotic takes in regards to these Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks, with some random Twitter users claiming that the game would not look any better as graphics are the first thing done in a game's development. That obviously is not true, and the games industry reacted to those absurd claims by showing off early builds of their very own games. This included Remedy's Control, Flix Interactive's Sniper Elite 5, Turtle Rock Studios' Back for Blood, Massive Monsters' Cult of the Lambs, Rare's Sea of Thieves, People Can Fly's Outriders, Bungie's Destiny and Halo 3 ODST, Blizzard's Overwatch, Guerrilla's Horizon Zero Dawn, 343's Halo Infinite, Naughty Dog's The Last of Us and Uncharted 4, Sony Santa Monica's God of War, Quantic's Detroit Become Human, and many, many more examples, from the AAA space to the indies. This was a rare moment in which the entire industry rallied behind Rockstar while fighting back against some of the incorrect takes that people have about game development. But anyway, as we get closer to the end of 2022, a lot of stuff going on in this AAA games industry, much that I couldn't fit in this video. We'll talk about Mario another day, but thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video or if you found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter, giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games. And again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.